Okay. So ecosystem, I was just saying it as it's a interaction between not only between the organisms but also with the physical environment surrounding them. So ecosystem is the structural and functional unit of uh, any living where the ecosystem is the functional unit. So we have to remember about that. So the organisms in an ecosystem, not only they interact with each other, but they also have an interaction with the physical environment surrounding them. So that is the reason ecosystem is an functional unit of nature where the living organisms interact with each other and also with the physical environment. It can be water, light, temperature. So all those are the physical environment. So within the organism's interaction, it can be predation, parasitism, symbiosis, mutualism or symbiosis, commensalism, amensalism. They're all the different types of population interactions which we have studied under organisms and population. So an ecosystem is a functional unit of nature where living organisms interact, not only interact with each other, but they also interact with the physical environment surrounding them. So the ecosystem structure and function, we also study about the types of ecosystem. There are three major types of ecosystem. That is the terrestrial ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem, and man-made ecosystem. So the terrestrial ecosystem, we notice the desert, rainforest, and grasslands. So three types of ecosystem that you notice in the terrestrial ecosystem is the rainforest, grassland, and desert ecosystem. So the aquatic ecosystem, you can notice the different varieties like pond ecosystem, lake ecosystem, wetland ecosystem, river ecosystem, estuarine ecosystem. So these we call it as aquatic ecosystem. The third variety is artificial ecosystem or man-made ecosystem. The examples for this are the crop fields is a man-made or artificial ecosystem. Aquarium is a man-made or artificial ecosystem. So these are the man-made ecosystems. So the entire biosphere is considered to be a global ecosystem. So you already know that in an ecosystem there is biotic, that is the living component, and abiotic, the non-living component. They interact and they function as a single unit. So in an ecosystem, the biotic and abiotic components interact and they function as a single unit. You also notice that there is vertical distribution of different species. They occupy different levels. So we have the ground level of vegetation, the bottom layers, which is occupied herbs and grasses. Shrubs occupy the second layer. The topmost strata is occupied by the trees. So in a forest, trees occupy the topmost strata, shrubs the second level, and herbs and grasses occupies the bottom layer. So this is how there is a vertical distribution of different species occurring at different levels, which we call it as stratification. Example is a forest. Now we'll try to understand a pond ecosystem. So what is a pond? A pond is a shallow, simple, self-sustainable water body that exhibits all basic components of an ecosystem. So it is a standing water. It's a shallow, simple, and it is a self-sustainable water body that exhibits all basic components of an ecosystem. So what are the basic components of an ecosystem? They are the abiotic components and biotic components. So the abiotic components here are the water and soil deposit. Okay, the climatic conditions like the amount of light available, cycle of temperature, day length, we call it as climatic condition. Autotrophic components are, that is, these are all biocomponents, biotic. So autotrophic components are phytoplanktons, some algae, and the floating, submerged, and marginal plants. So the autotrophic components, which can synthesize their own food utilizing the solar energy by photosynthesis, we call them as autotrophic components. They are the algae, phytoplanktons, algae, some floating, submerged, and marginal plants. All these are the autotrophic components. The consumers are heterotrophs. It can be the zooplankton, free swimming, and bottom dwelling zooplanktons. The decomposers are fungi, bacteria, and flagellates. So, a pond ecosystem is a shallow, simple, self sustainable water body that exhibits all basic components of an ecosystem. So, that is, they have both abiotic and biotic components. The abiotic components are water and soil deposit, the climatic condition like solar input, the cycle of temperature, day length. Okay. The autotrophic components within this pond ecosystem are phytoplanktons, algae, and floating, submerged, and marginal plants. Okay. The consumers or heterotrophs are zooplanktons, free swimming and bottom dwelling forms. Okay. The decomposers in this pond ecosystem are fungi, bacteria, and flagellates. Fungi, bacteria, and flagellates are the decomposers. So in a typical pond aquatic ecosystem, it performs all the functions of an ecosystem. So what are the functions of an ecosystem? Autotrophs, they convert inorganic into organic material using solar radiant energy. So that is carbon dioxide and water is taken. These are the inorganic components which are converted into glucose and stored as starch in plants. So this we call it as the autotrophs convert inorganic into organic material using the solar radiant energy. So the heterotrophs, they consume autotrophs. So this is also a few function of it. The decomposition and mineralization of the dead matter to release them back for reuse by the autotrophs is done by decomposers. So there is a decomposition and mineralization of dead matter done by the decomposers to release them back for reuse by the autotrophs. So the ecosystem has four basic corporates. They are productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycling. So the four basic components of an ecosystem: productivity, that means the photosynthesis, it produces energy by photosynthesis. So there is a primary productivity and the net primary productivity, gross primary productivity, GPP, NPP. We'll be discussing those things in the productivity. Decomposition. So the decomposition cycle also will be studying about. Energy flow, so which is unidirectional, we'll also study about that. Then nutrient cycling. So any ecosystem has four basic components, that is the productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycling. All these four components are found in an ecosystem, whether it is pond ecosystem or is it the terrestrial ecosystem. They exhibit these four components: productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycling. So these are the four components of an ecosystem. So we'll go into productivity. As you know that it is not wrong to call us all to be the children of the sun, because the solar energy we are consuming it either directly or indirectly through the plants. So the solar electric energy, electromagnetic radiations, they are taken up by the plants. So the plants capture, conserve, and convert the solar electromagnetic radiation into chemical energy. So they use this energy for fusing this carbon dioxide and water to form glucose. And in this process of photosynthesis, there is liberation of oxygen. So this is productivity, which is brought about by the producers. Okay. See, the basic requirement for an ecosystem to function and sustain is solar energy. Without the sun, life cannot exist. So this solar energy is the basic requirement for an ecosystem to function, sustain, and exist. So without solar energy, no ecosystem can function or sustain. So solar energy is the basic requirement, minimum requirement for an ecosystem to function and to sustain. Okay, so the primary production is defined as the amount of biomass or organic matter produced per unit area over a time period by plants during photosynthesis is called the primary production. So the amount of biomass or organic matter produced per unit area over a time period by plants during photosynthesis, we call it as primary production. So it is expressed in units like weight per gram square, or in terms of energy like kilocalorie per meter square, or the rate of biomass production. We call it as productivity. What is productivity? The rate of biomass production, we call it as productivity. Increase in biomass or the rate of biomass production, we call it as productivity. So productivity is expressed in terms of per gram square per year, or it can also be expressed in terms of calories energy as kilocalorie per meter square per year. Okay, so the prime productivity, that is the rate of biomass production, is called as productivity. So productivity is divided into two things: gross primary productivity, which is also represented by GPP, and net primary productivity, which is represented by NPP. So productivity is the rate of biomass production. So it is expressed in the units of per gram square per year, or it can be expressed in terms of energy as kilocalories per meter square per year. Okay, so the productivity is divided into GPP and NPP. GPP is the gross primary productivity, NPP is the net primary productivity. So let us understand now what is the definition of gross primary productivity. So here they have shown the slide. So NPP equals GPP minus R. R is respiration. See, gross primary productivity is the total photosynthesis that is taking place in case of plants. We call it as gross primary productivity. So the solar energy is taken up by the plants, and from this plants, the energy is transferred to the primary consumers when they consume these plants. So there is a flow of energy also. So let us understand this. The rate of biomass production, we call it as productivity. So there are two types, GPP and NPP, gross primary productivity and net primary productivity. What is the definition of gross primary productivity? It is the rate of production of organic matter during photosynthesis. Rate of, that is in with reference to time. So the rate of production of organic matter during photosynthesis, we call it as gross primary productivity. The gross primary productivity is defined as the rate of production of organic matter during photosynthesis. So a considerable amount of gross primary productivity is used by the plants for respiration. During respiration, energy is released from this energy rich molecules. So a considerable amount of gross primary productivity is used by the plants for respiration. So that is not available for the uh, consumers. That energy is not available because they are used by the plants for respiration. So the next is net primary productivity. So net primary productivity, it is the available biomass for the consumption to heterotrophs. The available biomass. So the gross primary productivity is, it is the rate of production of organic matter during photosynthesis. Net primary productivity is the available biomass for the consumption to heterotrophs. Okay, herbivores and decomposers. What is the biomass available for consumption to heterotrophs? That we call it as net primary productivity. So that is NPP is gross primary productivity minus respiration losses. So net primary productivity is the available biomass for the consumption to heterotrophs from plants. Okay, so NPP is always is equal to GPP minus R. R is the respiration losses. Then there is the term secondary productivity. So it is the rate of secondary productivity. Primary productivity is by plants. So secondary productivity is the rate of formation of new organic matter by consumers. It is the rate of formation of new organic matter by consumers. We call it as, so it is the rate of production of new organic matter by the consumers. We call it as secondary productivity. Primary productivity varies in different ecosystem because the primary productivity is dependent on the plant species which inhabits the area. Then it is also the primary productivity is dependent upon the environmental factors, the availability of nutrients, and photosynthetic capacity of plants. So secondary productivity is the rate of production of new organic matter by consumers. So we call that as secondary productivity. So primary productivity, it is brought about by the plants in different ecosystem. So because the primary productivity depends on the plant species which inhabits that area, environmental factors. Third one is availability of nutrients. Fourth is the photosynthetic capability of plants. So all these are the features which are required for the what you call it as the ecosystem. So these are the main criterion. So the plant species inhabiting an area decides the primary productivity. So the environmental factors, the availability of nutrients, and photosynthetic capacity of the plants. So these are certain facts you have to mug it up. So the annual net primary productivity of the entire biosphere is 170 billion ton. So the annual primary productivity of the entire net primary productivity of the entire biosphere is about 170 billion tons dry weight of organic matter. 170 billion tons. Okay. Of this, despite occupying 70% of the surface, the productivity of the oceans is only 55 billion tons. Even though oceans occupy 70% of the entire world surface, the productivity of the ocean is only 55 billion tons, whereas the production of the whole biosphere is 170 billion tons. So the contribution from the oceans for the annual net primary productivity is lesser. They are just 55 billion tons, whereas the entire net primary productivity of the entire world is 170 billion tons of organic matter. So the decomposition. What is decomposition? It is the process of breaking down of complex molecule into simple molecules. That process we call it as decomposition. So decomposition is the process of breakdown of complex organic molecule into simple molecules. So usually the decomposition takes place in dead plants and dead animals. So decomposition involves organisms like fungi, the bacteria, so they are all the important components, protozoans. They are all involved in the decomposition of the living organisms. The decomposition, you can see the slides here. So there is a decomposition of plants, the copras and other things are taking place. So dead animals, or even they are getting decomposed here. Detritus, the leaf litter, they are also getting disintegrated or decomposed by the activity of fungi, bacteria. Okay. So what is decomposition? It is the breakdown of complex organic matter by decomposers into inorganic substances like carbon dioxide, water, and nutrients. So decomposition is the breakdown of complex organic matter by decomposers into inorganic substances like oxygen, carbon dioxide, water, and nutrients like carbon dioxide, water, and nutrients. So the complex organic material is broken down into inorganic substances like carbon dioxide, water, and nutrients. So decomposition is largely an oxygen requiring process. They require oxidification. So decomposition is an oxygen requiring process. The raw material for decomposition, we call it as detritus. The raw material which is available for decomposition, we call it as detritus. Example is the dead plant remains. So here you can notice the dead plant remains. So leaves, barks, flowers, etc. Detritus, they also have the leaves shed. So the dead plant remains like leaves, litter, the bird, bark, flowers, etc. The dead remains of animals, fecal matter, etc. We can notice it here. So these are things that you have to remember regarding the decomposition. Then the various steps which are involved in decomposition are fragmentation, leaching, catabolism, humidification, and mineralization. So the various steps involved in the fragmentation in the stages of decomposition are fragmentation, leaching, catabolism, humidification, mineralization. 1 minute, students. Okay, the various steps of decomposition are fragmentation. So you can see the decomposition process. You can remember it as FLCHM. So FLCHM, fragmentation, leaching, catabolism, humidification, and mineralization. So the various steps involved in the decomposition process ಅಥವಾ ಕೊಳೆಯೋದ process ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು steps ಇರುತ್ತೆ, we can remember it as FLCHM. F stands for fragmentation, L stands for leaching, C stands for catabolism, FLC, the HM, that is humidification and mineralization. All these steps are involved in the decomposition process. So FLCHM, fragmentation, leaching, then you have the C part of it, that is the catabolism, humidification, and you also have this mineralization. So all these are the steps involved in decomposition process. So you can notice here the decomposition of this pig's dead body which is taking place. So they undergo all the steps: fragmentation, leaching, catabolism, humidification, and mineralization. Finally, you notice only the remnants of the bone remnants of this animal. Similarly, the decomposing matter from which the fungi arises. Fungi also brings about the decomposition of the litter, leaf litter. So what is fragmentation? So we'll study step by step what are the definition of it. Fragmentation is the breakdown of detritus into smaller particles by detrivores, example earthworm. So the fragmentation is the breakdown of detritus or decomposing material into smaller particles by detrivores. Example, earthworm, we call it as the fragmentation. So leaching, you might have come across this term in your chemistry metallurgy, isn't it? So the water soluble inorganic nutrients go down into the soil horizon and they precipitate as unavailable salts. So during the leaching, the water soluble inorganic nutrients go down into the soil horizon and precipitate as unavailable salts. So the degradation of detritus into simple inorganic substances by bacterial and fungal enzymes, we call it as catabolism. The degradation of detritus into simple inorganic substances by the activity of bacteria and fungal enzymes, we call it as degradation. Okay. So fragmentation, leaching, and catabolism occur simultaneously. Humification is accumulation of humus. That is, there is a dark amorphous substance in soil. So this accumulation of humus, the dark amorphous substance in soil. What is humus? Humus is resistant to microbial action and very slowly it decomposes. So being colloidal in nature, the humus serves as a reservoir of nutrients. So they are very slow in decaying. So the humus is resistant to microbial action, and so they decompose very slowly. And since humus is colloidal in nature, it serves as a reservoir of nutrients. The final step in decomposition is mineralization. It is the result of inorganic nutrients due to the degradation of humus by some microbes. So the final step, mineralization, is the release of inorganic nutrients due to the degradation of humus by some microbes. So that process we call it as mineralization. Okay, so the entire diagrammatic representation of decomposition cycle in a terrestrial ecosystem. The leaf litter, a green leaf falls to the ground. Some are eaten by insects and other animals. Nutrients and energy food chain where it is formed. So, and this leaf litter, they directly partially consumed and decomposes such as fungi and bacteria. They begin to lose form and become litter. Okay. Whereas the other step is some nutrients leach into soil by chemical action and they are going to provide the organic matter into the soil. So the next, the factors, what are the factors which influence decomposition? The chemical nature of detritus. So decomposition is very slow in detritus, which is rich in lignin and chitin. So the decomposition rate is very slow. So decomposition is quicker if detritus is rich in nitrogen and water soluble substances like sugar. So the decomposition process is very slow in case of uh, the detritus or the waste materials which are rich in lignin and chitin. So the decomposition is very quick if detritus is rich in nitrogen and whatever soluble substances like sugar. So the climatic the factors also play an important role in the detritus or decomposition. The warm and moist environment, they favor the decomposition. So the low temperature and anaerobosis inhibits decomposition, resulting in the building up of organic material. Okay.